Okay, those of you who are watching this not live, pause my video right now so that you can write down what we already wrote down. And then we're going to start with example 1. So when you're done writing down the stuff at the top, then you can start with our example. We just keep having technical difficulties. I keep getting thrown off with my tablet. Okay, you're going to draw a line, just one line. Okay, and you're going to have something on the left side. You're going to write X-I-N-T. That stands for x-intercept. And then you're going to put Y-I-N-T. Okay. Now, the main thing to memorize for the future is that x-intercept means y equals 0. So you really want in your brain to connect x-intercept to y equals 0 and y-intercept to x equals 0. And that's not a divided by sign. That's a like a label. So it's just a label. So on the left side of the line, we're finding the x-intercept, and the right side of the line, we're finding the y-intercept. Okay? Okay, so what that means to do is it says y equals 0. So you're going to put it instead of the y value right here. Okay, so you're going to write 2x plus 3, and you're going to leave a blank for y equals 12. Okay, and what am I going to put in the blank? So what am I going to put in the blank? Yes, I agree. So I'm going to put this in red pen so you could see it better. Okay, and then you have to solve it. So what you do from here is you write 2x, and then these two you're timesing. So what's 3 times 0? So this is 2x plus 0 equals 12. And then if you add a 0, nothing happens. So you just get 2x equals 12. You do have to substitute in this step, though. This is the most important step. Some people find like a shortcut, but it only works for some problems, and then it doesn't work for all the problems, and it doesn't work when you get to algebra 2. So you're learning a method that doesn't help you later. Because our whole purpose of learning algebra 1 is to be able to then do algebra 2 and take your college level math course and then just take 1 maybe. That would be the plan, is not to suffer through extra classes that you wouldn't have to take in college. Okay, so how do you get x by itself? This is a hug, right? So how do you get rid of a hug? Oh, Jeremy, you're right, but that's the next step. So hold on, we have one more step first. So Jeremy's on to the y-intercept. Correct, though. I'm going to write that down. But I haven't gotten x by itself on my x-intercept yet. So I have another 1 step. So, no, that's okay, Jeremy. Okay, so how do I get rid of the, yes, I divide. Divide by 2. And then you get x equals 6. And you have to write it as a coordinate. So it's real important to write this. A lot of people don't write that, the y equals 0. But it's really important because these two coordinates together make the parenthesis point. And people who don't write in y equals 0 in my algebra 2 class, they always forget that they put in y equals 0, and so then they don't have the coordinate correct. So it's really, really, really important to put y equals 0. Okay. So what would the coordinate be? Which coordinate is first in an xy point? Would it be the 6 or the 0? It's alphabetical. Yes. Yes. So that's called the x-intercept. So you put a box around that and maybe just put x-int underneath. Okay, and then did you guys see what Jeremy did? So what he did is he took the equation, same equation, but he's putting 0 in for the x position. So he said 2 blank 3y equals 12. And then he put the x equals 0 into the x spot, which is coming, but it's a little delayed on my computer today. How's my voice? Is my voice breaking up? Or my voice is okay? Okay, so this one's times. So what's 2 times 0? Uh-huh. And then I'm going to show you, I'm going to put a star by this step because I do need to see this step. I do need to see this step. I do need to see this step, this step, this step. So these starred steps I definitely need. But this step right here, what I sometimes do is I just cross out the 0. And then bring this down. I mean, it's a positive. Sometimes people who cross out the 0 get it wrong though, because they make another error. So I'm not sure if I want you to do that, but we'll see. We'll see how yours go. Okay, how do you get y by itself? Yeah, divide by 3. And then you get y equals 4. Okay, so I'm going to highlight the x equals 0 and the y equals 4. And then write it as a coordinate. So be careful with the letters. What would that coordinate be? Yes, I agree. So 0 for x and 4 for y. Okay, and then we're going to graph it. So over here, next to the 6, we're going to put a little right 6. Okay, so I'm going to write that in red pen so you can see it better. So I just wrote right 6 under the 6, and then up a 0. And then this one, I'm going to put right 0, up 4. Okay. Now we're going to grow. Let me get myself on graph paper. Okay, now these graphs, we have to be very careful graphing the points because it's not like you would notice if one was crooked. If you have 5 points and one of your points is off the line because you made an error, then you're like, oh, that one point looks funny. Maybe I did something wrong. But on these, there's only 2 points. So any 2 points, you could just draw a line through them. So you have to be real careful, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I put a 6. So I don't usually do the 1, 2, 3 thing. I just go to the number I want, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0. And this is called the x-axis. So that's also why it's the x-intercept, because it hits the x-axis. And this one's called the y-axis. But we're really graphing points the same way we did on the last assignment. Right 0, so don't go anywhere. Only go up 4. And then you usually put the number. And then those are 2 separate points on my line, so then I draw a line through them. It's a lot faster than doing the 5-point method that we did last time. So we're specifically using the 2 most popular numbers. Well, same number, but one of them for y and then one of them for x. So we're finding 2 important points on the graph. Okay, so the steps that I'm starring are the steps that it's really important for you to have in your homework. Okay. Okay, let's do another one. We're going to do one with negatives. I'm going to scooch down a little so that we can, you could still see the old one. So example 2, I'm going to have a negative in it. So let's say we have 3x minus, let's have 4y equals, okay, that's going to be too big of a number. Okay, I'm going to change the 3 to a 6. Okay, because that number is going to be too big. It's not going to fit on a graph the way I was making it right now. Equals 12. Let's have this one equal negative 12. Okay, so double check that you wrote the question right, because I kept changing my mind. So we're graphing it using the x and the y-intercept. So you're going to put x-intercept here, y-intercept here, make a line. So this is the structure. So in your brain, what you want x and y-intercepts to be is this like graphical organizer. X-intercept to the left, y-intercept to the right. So that's what you want to visualize anytime it says x or y-intercept. And there's a test that they have you take to help decide, what level you are for college, called the SAT. And for that, they sometimes ask you for the x-intercept. They sometimes ask you for the y-intercept. They don't usually ask you for both on the same problem. But if you have your structure in your brain, you say, oh, I remember that from Bridge Summer School, right? So x-intercept means I need to put y equals 0. And y-intercept means I need to put x equals 0. Excuse me. And then you don't really have to memorize the rest of the steps. You really are just memorizing substitute 0 in for y. That's all you're memorizing. You're not memorizing the whole process. Okay, so this is the most important thing. So make sure you write both of these things on your homework, okay? Okay, so y equals 0 means you put a 0 in for y. 6x minus 4, I'll put 0 in later because I like to put it in a different color. And you're putting the 0 in for y. And then you multiply them, so that's 0. And then it really turns out that the 0 just goes away because adding or subtracting 0 doesn't change the problem. Oh, and let me make sure I put a star on this substitution step. That substitution step is also very important. Okay. What's my next step? So I'm going to divide by 6. And then I get x equals negative 2. And then what would the coordinate be? Here's my x. But what's my y? Yeah, 0. When people don't write y equals 0, what they end up doing is they take the y from the second coordinate, like the y-intercept, and they just make one dot. It's a very common error, but the y equals 0 is the most important thing, is to write that. Okay, so negative 2, 0. Okay, and this one, we're substituting 0 in for x. Oops, I wanted to put that in a different color, so let me erase that 0 right there and put 0 in a different color so you could see it. That's why I brought you those red pens, so you guys could see. This one you have to be careful because the 0, I'm going to cross it out. I don't want to cross it out so I can't see it, just like lightly cross it out. But the next row is negative 4y equals negative 12. So I do need to bring down that negative. And then how do I get rid of the negative 4? And remember, when you divide by the exact thing you're hugging. So you do divide by negative. Y equals, oh, same sign as plus when you're multiplying. So that's, and dividing. So plus. And then someone different from Jeremy, can you give me the coordinates? And make sure you use a parenthesis. Thelma, you are right on your coordinates, except you have to put X first. So which one's your X? What do you think, Thelma? Do you agree with Franz? Yeah, 0, 3. So you got the values right though. Okay, perfect. Okay, and then here it's left 2, up 0. And this is right 0, up 3. And then we're going to graph those. Left 2, up 0. Right 0, don't go right, only go up 3. And then you draw your line through them. The most common answer, I'm going to put common wrong answer down here, so I would suggest you write that too. But the most common wrong answer on this problem is people take the negative 2x and they take the 3 on the y and they put them together. But that's why I want to make sure they're in different columns. And that's why I do make sure to label y equals 0, x equals 0 at the very beginning. Okay, so you guys are ready for your homework. So this is homework 55. I'm going to give you 3 of them only. Okay, so it says graph using Mn17, okay, which is the x and y intercept method. Okay, so x and y intercepts and the chart, like the structure that we just did here in example 2, okay? And we do need to graph. Okay, so we'll just do a 1, 2, 3. We'll just have 3 questions. So 2x plus 4y equals 12. That'll work. It's not very clean. 12. And then, okay, so do that one first. Okay, so that's Mn55. Okay, so I'm going to post that, and you have 18 minutes to do those 3 questions, okay? If you get stuck, send me a message. Oops. I'll be right there, Mom. I'm just uploading one thing and then I'm done with them. Oh, cool. Oh, I'm going to stop recording and then I can give this one to